Hey guys, happy weekend to us all. I've got a real good play here for you. I'm going to show you. This is just for you, by the way, just for the group. And I'm telling you, just here at the beginning, I want to let you know that these alerts are extremely powerful. But there's no way, and I'm going to be very frank here. I'm going to kind of some tough love type stuff. I want you to know that if you put the work in and you're willing, I'm going to give you plays when I can, like I did with XRP and I did with. I told you about XRP, and I didn't really tell you about Pippin, but I told you about XRP, XLM, which I made some money on some other ones. I didn't post them all, but I told you that 1021, it looked like the bottom to me for alts. And I'm going to show you that it may not be the end of the sideways move, but we can still take advantage of these tokens moving up, whatever it is, 30%, 100%, even if you're just playing spot, you can still make 2x your money if you're patient. We want a good entry and we want to exit if we feel like things are turning over. And so I'm going to show you this, and then we're going to talk about it later today in the live stream as well. But I just want to show it to you now in a very short video. I promise I won't make this long. Just, watch real quick. And I think that the bottom is really close for this one. So we can see SQD, SQD. The only way that I knew about this token, by the way, was it showed up in our volume alerts and listings, which I feel is one of our best channels right now. I'm so glad that I set this thing up because, and I have to give credit to Engineering Robo creator, by the way, because he had this first and I'm the one that just, went and made my own signals with it. But it really helps everybody here. I've found some success with it. And so I'm going to show you how to use it right now. So first of all, in the volume alert channel here, if you see any token, and I've done many videos about this, so if you missed them, go back and look at some of my other videos. But if you see, I don't have it set to where it does, when it says when it goes down anymore, because I don't think that's really necessary. But if you see a token that does like 100% or 30%, something like that, it's probably going to turn around temporarily. This one actually kept going the same day. You can see 926, 5:29 a.m. So within an hour, it just kept going up and up and up. And actually here it went up to 200%. But notice how it cooled off. It actually went down some here. And it cooled off for a long time. So this was 926. And then it took it until, 5 days later, 6 days later. And then it went up another 100%. But look how much time we have now. This thing's been down and correcting for like 24 days. And I caught it in the chart that it looks like it's ready to move back up. Now, this is just one way that you can use it. Wait for these things. What this thing's going to do is going to alert you when a token goes up at least 30%. So if you see a signal where one's saying it's up 30% and it's been a long time since it's gone up a lot, then it might be time for you to take a look at it. And I think that's what's going to happen. And I'm going to show you that here right now. So if we compare Alpine here on the left that has already made a huge move to what SQD looks like right here. A lot of people will tell you, and Tatiana tells me all the time, to be careful with fractals because they can fool you, and she's absolutely right. However, on a higher time frame, and if you use validation, invalidation, you can save yourself money and you can get in. It's low risk, high reward, in my opinion, but you have to be patient. You can't be way down at a 5-minute chart. You have to be at higher time frames like this and first get an idea of what price action's doing on the high time frame, and then go down to the low time frame to get your your entry position. So I think this thing's right at the bottom, by the way. It's just retesting this area for the final time after this huge move down, which is exactly what happened over here. So let me start out at the beginning here. Let me bring up one other chart for you here real quick, because I want you to understand. I've mentioned this many times, but I'll continue to go over it until it sinks in. And it's good for me to, continue to talk about this because it helps me as well to remember these things. So this chart right here, SQD, I love using it because it has such nice structure. You had an accumulation phase here, and then all of a sudden the bottom dropped out. What does that look like to you? This was September 2025. Does this look like October 10th? Yeah, looks exactly like it, right? So here's what we have. We got a range, and I don't know how many days this is going to last. Don't pay attention to what SQD did here, because this was just a handful of days. Right now, this could take until November for this little sideways shakeout, boring price action which I told everybody a week or two ago. I said, we're probably in this range where things are going to be boring and it's going to shake more people out because of the boredom after this big, move down. And eventually it's going to break out of this and people are going to be caught by surprise, because what's going to happen is it's going to break out. This is all the altcoins. I mean, maybe not all of them, but most of them that haven't made a move yet. So breakout, dip, and this is going to shake even more people out because it's going to be disbelief basically. And then you get the huge rally. So this, you could actually take this and say, okay, this is what the broader alt market is going to look like once it gets moving. But, again, right now we're in this little range area, which is going to continue to shake people out, make people bored. They're just going to go away from the market and say, well, that's done. Bear market's here. There's no reason for me to stick around. And then months later or weeks later, they're going to look back and say, well, why is this token up 30%? Why is this token up 2x? Surely that's just a dead cat bounce. There's no way that this is actually going to start bouncing again. So these are the thoughts they're going to have. So let's jump back over here to the chart. And so you got Alpine here on the left on a 6-hour chart, and I've got SQD on a 6-hour chart. So you can see, just like we talked about, here was some accumulation that was happening. Here was your shakeout, more accumulation, breakout. That's just like the chart we looked at just now, right? Accumulation, shakeout, breakout, or actually, mini breakout, retest, and then the real breakout. And so that's what you got. This is similar, breakout right there. Comes up, falls below support, rejects a couple of times up here, long downtrend. And now what you're waiting for, here's the same thing. Lost support here, up, down, up, comes up here a couple of times, rejects multiple times. And this is on a higher time frame on this one over here. It's going to look a little bit different, but the structure is pretty much the same. And now all you're waiting for, if you want to play it safe, and I'm fully for that, I support that. If you want to play it safe, just wait for this to break above the line. I mean, it's really that simple. And that is the safe play. So people can tell you, well, and I'm not picking on Tatiana here. I'm just saying other people may tell you, hey, fractals are stupid. I know that Tatiana believes in fractals as well, but she knows that you have to have validation. Validation areas of a breakout, breaking above a trend line, or an invalidation where it breaks below. So if you were to see this thing break below this level, then it's invalidated. It's probably coming way back down here. I don't think that's going to happen, but it's always a possibility. They can manipulate the market however they want to, just like they did with the October 10th dip. However, I will say that in hindsight, it was always in the chart. It always was there and it was coming, but a lot of times we need that hindsight, right? So yeah, just wait for this breakout. The other thing that you can watch for, like I've told you about this Fu Manchu Cipher B plus divergences indicator, which is the same thing as market cipher. It just looks a little bit different. What you'd want to be watching for is a bullish divergence, which I think one is coming because this is flattening out right here. Now we are still in the red money flow, but we're on a very high time frame here as well. So typically that's what I mean as far as going down to a lower time frame. You want to start going down and looking for, some kind of bullish divergence. Still not seeing anything here. One could be forming, but there's no clear cut, entry just yet. This is a double bottom, so this could be it. And, price could be, finding support here. I probably want to move the support line down to here just to be safe. And then if it drops below here, then you're just going to say, well, I'm just going to wait longer. I'll wait for the breakout. Just like this thing, wait for the breakout. But I'll tell you this, what's happening right now in this one is really very, very similar to all of this right here. Even though it's down, it's a downtrend, it's still very similar to this. And then it's going to break out, it's going to retest, and then it's going to pop off. I'm just trying to see if I can find, I would really consider this a bullish divergence technically because it's a double bottom after all this downtrend. So I think this could be the bottom, but we'll see. We're going to call it 12,897 roughly, and we'll look back later and see how well it worked out. And then maybe you can look back at this and say, okay, this made a lot of sense at the time. Well, maybe it didn't make a lot of sense at the time, but looking back, it makes a lot of sense. And then you can use this knowledge going forward to make yourself a lot of money. But again, be very careful with fractals. High time frame is where you want to start. Start at the monthly, weekly, and then work down from there. But have these areas of validation first. Like right now, you don't have to enter this. There's plenty of time to enter this play. Here's your line right here, even on a low time frame, because you drew it on the high time frame. So let the support base itself out here. This could be a fake down, and then it comes back up here, sideways, 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 breakout. And then it comes up, retests some kind of breakout, and then it finally makes the big move. You may ask what the possible move out of this is. Well, it's impossible to figure that based on what Alpine did, because this was a 200% move by Alpine overall. But if we just look at this to here, that was a 50% move for that one. And if we look at the same move for SQD, and I'm not saying that this is going to play out 1-to-1, but this move for SQD, the initial move was 250%. So there's a good chance that it's at least going to be a 200% move once it completes this full move. And it could be 400%, but I don't know for sure. We don't have to guess at it. We just watch for areas. You can use Engineering Robo, you can use MACD. There's so many different indicators that you can use, but I think it's pretty clear that this one is way oversold, right? If I just get rid of these two things and I look at this, that's a huge bullish divergence right there, right? Because it's a higher low. And we can verify it going down lower. All of these were way down here, showing a lot of bearishness. And now these are getting really tight. Low time frames don't look as, well, that one looks better. Yeah, that's a bullish divergence there. Once it completes anyway. But you're not seeing your MACD turn up just yet. Yeah, it's still turning down, even on the 5-minute. But what you'd really want to see, especially on the 5-minute, you'd like to see these two lines get above the midline there, and you'd feel better about it. Like back here, see how these two crossed right there? That shows bullishness. And that's that same thing I was talking about just a minute ago, where you get a shakeout, it goes sideways, you get a small breakout, retest, and pump. These are the structures you want to look for, and then have that validation as well. So I hope this was helpful to you. I know it was a little bit longer than I wanted to make it, but this is a very in-depth look at how you would use a fractal safely and be able to make money. So, be careful. I'm telling you from experience, don't try to just jump into this thing just because I think it might be bottomed. Wait for a confirmation of a breakout right here, like we were talking about. So if we go back to 3-hour chart, that's what this looks like. You would want to wait until you got a candle close above this line right there. And be very careful with leverage, especially because this thing could still wick down, or who knows what. These wicks do happen from time to time. All right, hope that was helpful. If not, if there's any question about it, let me know, and I'll explain it better if I didn't do good enough on this one.